I used to think that millionaires were people that lived in giant houses, drove luxury cars, and were big spenders. That was until I read this book, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. This book taught me that this luxurious materialistic image that we have of millionaires that's often portrayed by media and pop culture is completely false. The Millionaire Next Door taught me that most millionaires are actually very modest people who drive modest cars, live in modest houses, and live very frugal lives. It taught me that most millionaires are quiet millionaires. And in this video, I want to share 14 lessons from this book that completely changed how I view millionaires. And the first lesson is that high income does not equal high wealth. In the beginning of the book, the authors explain that when they started to do research on millionaires, they went to upscale neighborhoods, consisting of people who lived in big houses and drove in nice cars. And upon doing this, they noticed something odd. They noticed that these people who have nice stuff, who often had high incomes, did not actually have any wealth, which contradicts this belief that we have here in the United States about wealth. However, it makes sense because even if you have a high income, if you spend it all, you have no money left to build wealth. You're just living large. Income and wealth are not the same thing, which leads me to my second lesson. Wealth is what you accumulate, not what you spend. Now, as I just explained, even if you have a high income, if you spend all your money, you have no money to build wealth. Wealth doesn't come from spending money, but it comes from not spending money and using that saved money to accumulate income-producing assets like stocks, real estates, and businesses. Real wealth has nothing to do with what car you drive or how many bathrooms that you have in your house, but real wealth comes from getting your money to work for you. And so to summarize these two lessons, great offense plus poor defense equals underaccumulation of wealth. Now, after what I just said, I don't want it to come across as me saying that all high-income earners are broke because that is not true. But what I'm saying and what the authors say in the book is great offense or a high salary, but poor defense in a highly consumeristic lifestyle equals underaccumulation of wealth. Despite how much money you make, if you spend all your money, then you have no money left over to build your wealth. And so to build wealth, you need both a good offense and a great defense of living a modest life well below your means. But of these two, probably the most important and the fourth lesson is the foundation of wealth accumulation is a good defense. So as I just said, to accumulate wealth, you need both a good offense and a good defense. However, the truth is, between the two, the most important is having a strong defense. Having a high income isn't necessary to build your wealth. I mean, according to a study on millionaires by Ramsey Solutions, only 31% of millionaires averaged a salary of $100,000 or over the course of their career, and 33% of millionaires never made over $100,000 a year in their entire career. Most millionaires don't get wealthy by playing an above-average offense or making a lot of money, but they do it by having an above-average defense and living well below their means. And an above-average defense is about in the fifth lesson, is being frugal is the cornerstone of building wealth. Now, once the authors started to interview actual millionaires, they started to uncover one habit that was common amongst all of them, and it was frugality. Contrary to popular belief, most millionaires are actually extremely frugal. They live in modest houses, drive modest cars, and have very little visual indicators of their wealth. And that's because being frugal is the cornerstone to building wealth. And as I've explained a few times in only a few minutes of this video, even if you have a high income, if you spend it all, you have no money left over to build wealth. Building wealth starts with being frugal, living below your means, so you have money left over to put towards income-producing assets. And so the next lesson is building wealth starts with saving. Now, when many people imagine millionaires, they think that they got their money through an inheritance or coming from a wealthy family. However, the truth is, as they explain in this book, the majority of millionaires are self-made. According to that same study by Ramsey Solutions, 79% of millionaires are self-made. The majority of millionaires start from nothing and build their wealth slowly over time. And so if you want to become wealthy, you must save because, as the authors say, you can't invest without something. For the bulk of millionaires, their journey to get to millionaire status begins with saving and using that saved money to invest for income-producing assets that build their wealth. And all of these beliefs that we've spoken about up to this point in the video are also shared by their partners, which brings me to the 7th lesson. Millionaires marry like-minded people. Another important component to building and maintaining wealth mentioned in the book is choosing the right partners. Millionaires choose partners with the same financial goals and ideals, because if they don't and marry a consumeristic partner, building and maintaining wealth becomes nearly impossible. Millionaires, whether they are male or female, choose a partner with the same priorities as them, which allows them to build and maintain their wealth. So now that we understand that most millionaires are frugal and live below their means, you might be asking yourself the question, why doesn't the media portray this image? Well, it's because of the 8th lesson. The reality of millionaires is too boring to televise. Now, most people think that millionaires are people that live very luxurious lives, because this is the image the media portrays. However, as we discussed up to this point, this portrayal is false. And in the book, the authors discuss why we see this portrayal so much. They say that if you had a TV show with actual millionaires talking about their average frugal life, it would be boring. It wouldn't make it past the first episode. The media doesn't show the reality of millionaires because it is not interesting and it won't sell. And instead, they show this image that high-income earners are people that live lavishly because it's ultimately a better story that gets more eyeballs. However, some millionaires do live lavishly, and what often happens in the 9th lesson is high-income earners who live lavishly are often temporary millionaires. So as I said in the first lesson, high income does not equal high wealth. And the authors quickly realized this when they started to go to upscale neighborhoods and realized that these people that live lavishly did not have a lot of wealth. And the authors call these people who live lavishly and spend all their money and build no wealth temporary millionaires. Their high incomes do make them millionaires, but because they spend all their money, they lose their millionaire status and they're unable to make it again. For example, athletes often live very lavishly, but once they retire, they go broke. A Sports Illustrated article revealed that 78% of NFL athletes go broke after 3 years of retirement. Again, just because you have a high income doesn't mean that you have high wealth. And unless you learn to play a strong defense and live below your means, you will have trouble building and maintaining wealth. And millionaires also choose not to live in upscale neighborhoods, not just because of the high mortgage, but also because high consumption neighborhoods don't stop at a high mortgage, but also the need to look the part. Now, millionaires avoid living in these upscale neighborhoods, not just to avoid the high mortgage that comes with it, but also to avoid having to look the part and keep up. Getting a luxury car, wearing nicer clothing, getting nicer furniture, and joining the expensive country club. When you surround yourself with highly consumptive people, you become a highly consumptive person yourself, which is why millionaires avoid these upscale neighborhoods. 11. They drive used cars. Contrary to popular belief, most wealthy people do not drive Mercedes, Porsches, or BMWs. But the number one brand of car that they drive is Toyota, used Toyotas. They buy used, reliable cars. They're practical when it comes to cars and don't view them as status symbols. In fact, they see new cars as overpriced. Because the second you drive a new car off the lot, it loses 10 to 20% of its value. Millionaires choose to get used cars and let someone else take the financial hit of buying a new car. And when it comes to their income, in the 12th lesson, is they minimize their realized income and maximize their unrealized income. Now, this is a strategy that makes people often hate rich people, but when you understand it, it's actually not that evil. There are two types of income. Realized income, which is claimed income, like a paycheck, and unrealized income, which is unclaimed income, like investments. And these two types of income are taxed very differently. For example, imagine making $100,000. If it was realized income like a paycheck, it would be subject to income tax at a rate of maybe 25%. But if it was unrealized income like stocks invested in the market, it would not be taxed at all because it's paper profit, not yet converted into cash. And when it does get converted into cash, it's taxed at a much lower rate as capital gains tax. They grow their wealth not through a paycheck, but through income-producing assets, which are often subject to a lot less tax. And when it comes to income, they understand the biggest risk is having a single source of income. Now, millionaires are risk takers, and as they explain in the book, a huge chunk of them are self-employed and create their own opportunities. Not all of them are, but a huge chunk of them are self-employed. But despite taking the risk of being self-employed, they understand that a bigger risk is only having a single source of income or a paycheck, because if they lost that single source of income, they would come into a lot of problems very quickly. And instead, they diversify their income and have many different income-producing assets. So if they lost one source of income, they would have the others to back them up. And the final lesson from the Millionaire Next Door is people who think millionaires only come from wealthy families are predetermined to not become millionaires. So as I explained in this video, 79% of millionaires are self-made. And they get there not through a high income, but by being frugal, planning, and being consistent. And at least in the United States, if you choose to live frugally, invest in income-producing assets, and be consistent and patient over a long period of time, you too can become a millionaire, as the authors say in the book. Reaching a net worth between $1 and $10 million is very attainable in one generation. However, if you live with the mindset that millionaires are only people that come from wealthy families, don't take steps to build your own wealth and live your life as a victim, you will never get there. You will never gain financial security in life. So believe in yourself, start implementing these lessons in your own life, and you will become the next millionaire next door. And with that, muchas gracias, que tengan un buen día, nos vemos chicos.